So, I guess this is kind of a janky introduction. I'm Alex, I'm the blind guy, and this is the first vehicle I want to talk to you guys about. I guess I'm kind of doing this because not enough people realize that just because you're blind or have a disability doesn't mean that can stop you from anything. But enough of that. This is my 99 Yukon Denali, and I'm going to be doing some work on it in future videos. I got to put a flywheel and a torque converter in it. It always had a bad habit of eating starters, and I guess it finally took its toll. I've put like 10 starters in it, and it keeps eating them, and I've got a new one in it now, and it's not working very well. And I know it's kind of ugly on the outside right now. It used to be a lot nicer. I used to race it back when I could see, but just because there's a little dust on the body don't mean anything. This thing's hopped up like a witch on an electric broom. But I'm going to open it up and show you a couple things. It is a sleeper, I will say. It don't look like much, but that right there is an LT1 383 stroker Chevrolet with spider injection, with roller cam, ARB rods, chromoly pistons. The only thing that isn't roller on this is the rockers themselves, because we had to change the valve covers and it just wouldn't have looked original like that. But I've done a couple of things. I got a set of Flexolite fans on here. I wired them up myself. I had to rewire quite a bit of this truck actually. The power cables had fried on it. In the past when I was four-wheeling, the starter power cable came loose and grounded out against the frame and fried everything from the starter up. It needs to be painted still, and there's a cool trick for people. This wire right here, I know it seems out of place, but that's actually a wire to excite my starter, and I did that because it's a really good way to test, and I'll show you what the truck is doing. If I can get it. It's actually doing a lot better now than it has in a long time. Let it call me a liar, but you hear that banging noise. It shouldn't be doing that. This motor has about 80,000 miles on it, but it's been used for towing, and the body itself has around 500,000. But it's a cool truck, and it's worth restoring, and that's what I'm doing. I have a billet grill I took off and painted. I haven't put it back on yet. I have a 3500 box truck radiator and radiator supports, along with power steering coolers, oil coolers, transmission coolers. It's an 8-core radiator. I have a 14-bolt Positrack differential out of a 2000, and I believe it started in 98. It's a 6-lug 2500, and I can show you this. If you look and see here, there are 6 lugs on that, but it's about 2 inches wider, which leaves the track of my truck along the same side. Unlike Chevrolets usually have a rear end that is about 2.5 inches more narrow. But if you look back here, you can count that. That is 14 bolts on that rear end. It is a 14-bolt GM Corporate semi-floating, which is interesting. It's basically a dually rear end out of a 2500 light duty. It's a single rear wheel axle, 6-lug, and they only made it for a couple of years. But I know it's ugly, but from what I can see, there are only 1,100 of these that were ever sold. There was a strike at the factory, and they decided to move on to Cadillac in Arlington and rebadged it as the first Cadillac Escalade. But this truck was actually built to spite Ford with the Lincoln Navigator that had come out in 97. It has 4-way heated seats, air conditioning front and rear, along with front heat. And the gauge on this actually reads to 120, which is odd for this. In that year, they usually only read to 100, and forgive me, the inside's a little dirty. I've been using it for storage, and it needs work. It's got mileage. It says Yukon Denali, and it's imprinted into the seats that were here and into the doors. If you notice though, that gauge reads 120. And this is not the original cluster. I had this replaced, and because it's mileage exempt, I didn't really care. But it's pretty cool, and I just wanted to say hey to everybody. I'll be doing more videos in more depth in the future. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and God bless.